That is bold. Well, one of the easiest ones that is one of the standards that's come about this year is viewable impressions. And you're seeing ad networks with 30% viewable impressions, a lot of sites with even, they're selling $10 CPM and it gets 10% viewable impressions, meaning the quick definition of that is a viewable impression means it was seen by a human for a certain period of time.
So even if the ad was stellar, because it's only seen by 1 in 10, it has virtually no impact.
Yeah, machines don't vote. Machines don't buy things. They just don't have that. They don't trigger. They don't influence you. Your laptop is not going to say, I saw a banner ad for Carnival Cruise Line. You really should think about going. They don't do that.
So things like retargeting then and whatnot, that often they say, well, once they've seen an ad, then we'll just keep showing it to them over and over. That's the basis of retargeting, right? You're suggesting even that, it results in a higher conversion rate, maybe because you get top of mind, but even that is inefficient because it doesn't matter if you show the same ad to a guy who doesn't pay attention 200 times in a row.
It goes back to the Troy side of the fence. You have to create a brand. You have to create an emotional, you have to really get somebody out of their comfort zone, or really leave it to Troy to describe it best, but media can only do so much. And there's only so much intelligence, but the idea is the data that is available can help marketers stop wasting money, but you still need people like Troy to create the emotional connection, the story, the need that's going to finally deliver profits. So it's still, you're not out of the woods just by buying viewable impressions or high engagement rate media, or even buying down to the neighborhood. You still have to deliver a piece of creative that solves a problem and solves a problem for the job that the future customer has.
Well, that's in part why I wanted both of you on this seminar, and when we had made the decision we were going to do these, I wanted you two on this one together, because we do, Clickafy's, not to talk about us very long, but Clickafy's approach is you have to start with your audience. And essentially, we've talked about that most of this seminar, is that you have to start with the audience. Whereas we believe most of advertising starts with the creative. And they sell that CMO on very clever creative. And there's no doubt about that there's some brilliant creative out there. But if it doesn't ever reach the mind of the person you're trying to influence, then what's the point?
That comes to emotional intelligence, which I think, as we talked early on, where the media person comes in and tries to sell you on media, that's great. You have to buy some media at some point, and you have to do all these analytics, and you have to do all the things Chris was talking about to get to a point where you're buying smart. Okay, so let's say you've done all that correctly. You're really primed the pump. You're ready to go. If you don't have a message that is based on some sort of emotional intelligence of that customer, then it's all going to be lost. And whether that's context, whether that's based on where they live, how they live, all those kind of things you need to know about that person. What did you say? Start with the audience. I need to know how and why they're buying stuff, first of all, and then how and why they're buying your stuff. And then what's my message to get you over the hump to actually go do it? If you have all the analytics in the world, and no offense to Chris especially, who does great, all that kind of stuff, great. I can't deliver, I can't close without the emotional closing that allows me to say, yes, this is okay for me to buy it. That kind of emotional connection and intelligence really starts to matter, because now there's a whole bunch of stuff coming into play as to why or why not I'm going to buy that particular item. There's a whole, what's to say about me? What is my mom going to think? What's my wife going to think? There's a lot of stuff that comes into play as to why somebody buys or doesn't buy something. Because now you've done this great job of finding them. You've used all of our brain power to track them down. Now we've got to use our heart to actually convince them of something.
And so the whole notion of why we say can't buy my love. For part of it, it's a two-part process, right? Chris is basically saying, here's how we go about in finding them. And Troy's saying, well, and once we found them, this is how we should probably approach them. Because we know more than just, I'm a woman 18 to 34. And I like the internet. Yeah. Well, I think, we're kind of getting towards the end of our talk here. I guess parting shots, and I'll start with Chris.
I would say for this particular series, again, focus on getting your house in order, get your sales data, get your find out different sources of data that can help you segment and understand your customer in a much better light. Start there. Don't ignore it. And do your best to connect total media data to total sales data. Do not settle for subsets.
Troy, parting shots?
The way you use that to your advantage is you use that data as a springboard to develop creative that really connects with people. You know, I can jump off the side of a pool fairly high, but if you give me a springboard, I'm going to go way higher. That's where if you have smart data, you can use that as a springboard to develop creative that really makes a difference.
Great. I appreciate that as well. I would offer as my parting shots on this topic is that what we're trying to show CMOs is that in order to really make a difference, it's not a case of just if we had more money, things would be fixed. Because all the challenges we've discussed are happening, and as you heard, we've talked about some really big brands who I'm suspecting, many of you out there would look and say, gee, I wish I had their money. Money doesn't necessarily solve all problems here. The real challenge is to be smart about where your customer actually lives in terms of, and to a certain extent in Chris's case, he's actually talking about where they live physically, in terms of what is their surroundings, in terms of what is their context, and not just saying, well, we're going to buy this media and we're going to stick it out there and we're going to hire this agency and we're going to do that. We realize that these are scary notions, but if you were to go to the sales data the way that Chris is talking, you can probably make the case to your peers and to your superiors about this is what's happened in the past. And this is what we know about the context of the environment we work in. And so as a result, you could even feel, even if you choose an agency based on their creative, where the next time you're sitting in a pitch, you should feel more confident about what you're being pitched by the notion of, I really know the environment in which my customer lives, both in terms of where I'm trying to sell now and where I might be trying to bridge to in the future. And so we're hoping in this talk today, and we hope what you got out of it, is this notion of you need to look at emotion, you need to look at their habits, you need to look at what your sales data is telling you, and then pay attention then to how you might sell them. My name is Bryan Del Monte. I was joined by Chris Skinner and Troy Hayes, and we hope you enjoyed our seminar. For more information, contact us at www.clickafy.com. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.